I really hate that you've had this success because I'm not having this success, like, you know, which is what a lot of us feel a lot of the time, right? And then we just don't talk about it. And I think as well, like, this comes from so many different past lives that we've experienced and the sisterhood wound and all of that. And it also comes from not feeling seen ourselves. You know, when somebody celebrates you and, you know, you feel seen, you feel witnessed, and it's like, oh, wow, like, thank you. That's also not that easy to do either, right? And I think that ties in so deeply with that celebration in the sisterhood wound, because we don't allow ourselves to be celebrated.
Welcome to the Wildflow podcast with me, Charlotte Puanto, certified cycle and feminine embodiment coach and shamanic womb guide. In this podcast, I'll share my wisdom and conversations with powerful change makers, thought leaders, and embodied teachers to invite you to live cyclically in flow with your menstrual cycle instead of fearing it, to heal menstrual shame and normalize womb wisdom and period positivity, and to step into your sovereign magnetic power to create and embody the change you desire to see in your world. Settle in to unleash your wild flow. Today's conversation is one of my soul sisters, Kylie Holmes. She's an incredible woman and a coach and a space holder and a healer who I met in a group experience a year ago, and we just clicked and we hit it off. And Kylie has become somebody who I've shared my journey with, who I feel safe and open to express my inner vulnerabilities, the struggles that I'm feeling and experiencing, moving through. And she holds an epic space for me, just as friends, and I do the same for her. As two people we share values, we share an approach to life, and when much of the world is working in different ways to how we operate, I really lean on Kylie and allow her to hold up a mirror to me to keep me in alignment with how it is that I want to live and work in the world. And that is in an embodied way, in a way where my feelings and my needs take center stage over what I should be doing or what I think I should be doing in order to achieve a certain measure of success, which may or may not resonate with me. So today's conversation with Kylie was one that we have been looking forward to for a while. And we didn't really have too much of an agenda for this conversation because it could have gone so many ways, but I think you'll agree when you listen that this just unfolded absolutely intuitively, perfectly, as it was meant to be for both our highest good and for yours. In this conversation, we talked about how we can stand strong in our knowing, in our magic and medicine, and in our way of seeing the world and the way that we want to feel in our work, in our life, in our relationships, even when that goes differently to how the world encourages us to show up. We talked about connecting into our intuition, into our cycle wisdom. We talked about as well finding finding sisterhood in each other and finding the people who support us. We talked about celebrating each other and the power that has to break the sister wound or to heal it, and to heal in ourselves our sense of unworthiness and how triggering it has been for Kylie in the past and me, but how the act of celebrating each other is just being so powerful, not just for our own healing and our own well-being, and for each other, but for our own growth as well. And we talked about Kylie's work doing past life healing, how she has connected the dots from past lives that have gathered experiences and memories, traumas, wounds, experiences that can play out today, and how we can spot those, how we can understand the way that we are subconsciously playing out patterns that we've carried through from past lives with us, and how we can heal those, and the work that Kylie does in that space. So it's a really juicy conversation. The language gets a bit sweary at times because that's just the kind of vibe me and Kylie have. She brings out my my inner love for swearing. It's time for me to introduce you to Kylie. Kylie is a past life healer and intuitive coach for big-hearted women, light workers and leaders. She supports her clients to land in their full essence and embody their wildly messy, beautiful self so they can remember who they are at a soul level and thrive in this world as the powerful human they are. Known for her grounded, magnetic energy and her powerful, intuitive guidance, Kylie holds her clients in unconditional love, which allows them to dive into the depths and come home to their truth. Her clients often describe working with her as transformational, magical, life-changing, validating, and more often than not, a little bit weird, in the best ways, of course. You'll find her writing and singing songs for her clients, snuggled up on the couch with her dog Bodhi or with her feet on the earth, immersing herself in the beauty and magic that surrounds us. Enjoy this conversation. Kylie, welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
Oh, I am bloody delicious. Thank you, my love. How are you?
I'm bloody delicious too. Thank you. I'm so excited to have this chat with you. And I can't wait to see where it goes. I just love talking to you. We always have such amazing conversations. We've got so much in common in terms of how we see the world and like what our values are and the way we approach life and business. And yeah, you're just a freaking legend, you are. So thank you for being here.
Ditto to all of that. I could not agree more. As you said, we have so much in common. I feel like every single time we chat, it's just, we've already been chatting for 40 minutes and we've only just hit record. So like we legit could have been speaking for hours.
It's true. We could be here all day.
Yeah, I froth you and your energy so much. So thanks for having me.
Oh, yes. Also, we've been waiting a while for this conversation to happen. It was meant to happen like 4 months ago, and life has just been in the way, and it's like there's been so much I felt like anticipation and excitement, but just trusting that today is the day it's meant to be.
Absolutely.
And so
isn't it interesting as well, like in that 4 months a lot that has happened for us has been fairly similar. Like it's been very aligned, which I find really interesting. I'm always curious about things like that.
It's really struck me too. It's been really curious, as sort of like mirroring each other in the way that we've both had losses in our family. We've both had like a real pull inwards over. I feel like it's been a winter, even though it's been summer in the Southern Hemisphere. It feels like a big winter.
Yep.
And I know that it has, for you too. And we've really checked in and shared how we're going with each other, like in ourselves, in our lives. And it's been really curious to see you feeling and moving through a lot of the similar things that I have.
Yep. And I think as well, and we've spoken about this briefly, like witnessing you, just as you've witnessed me, it's like kind of been a permission slip for me to be like, oh, okay, like I can take this time, like I can step back, I can just land here. Like I don't need to just rush into the next season. Like I can just allow myself to be in this winter phase and it be okay. And I just want to say, like, you were a huge permission slip for me to do that. So thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. And likewise too, because I'm there going, I know it's like New Year and summer and everyone's like, setting intentions and goals for the year. And I just really do not feel that. I just need to be off, to rest, like really recuperate, refill my energy reserves and just like let the vision for the year like percolate rather than just going full steam ahead. Like I've got my word of the year, I've got my goals and intentions, like smashing out the year. It's like I actually just needed that first, like the whole of December, January, February for me just felt like a real like a slow emergence back from like a winter, like sticking my nose out the cave. And so like when I was sharing that with you, it was like, I feel like I'm really going against the grain here. And then when you were sharing, you were in that same kind of space. It was like, of course you are. Like, yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
And it can be freaking overwhelming, eh? Like it can be so overwhelming at that time when there are so many people around you being like, set your words, set your goals. What's your plan this year? It can be freaking overwhelming, especially for me, who like I feel a lot of that and feel the pressure to do that. And at the same time, it's like, well, hang on a minute. Like if I actually move into that energy and like create goals or like, you know, be in that energy that I'm not actually in, like I'm not standing fully in my integrity, and it's not going to be true for me. And it's not going to support me throughout the rest of the year. So just, yeah,
100%.
just take a step back. It's okay.
Yeah, I think the more of us need to give ourselves permission to do that and not be like, if I don't get started now, I'm not gonna do XYZ. Like everything will happen in its own time. And also, what's the rush? What's the urgency to? I think, you know, when we pin goals on what our year needs to be, what our like money, you know, making needs to be, what our creations need to be, and you start putting those kind of, you know, goals on what you want to do and how you want to show up, it just pulls you out of alignment with like how you're feeling and what you need, and letting that be what the compass and the fuel that moves you through the year. Like doing things, you know, for me it's like doing things in alignment is doing things that honors my energy, where I'm at in my life, what's going on, how I'm feeling, like what feels good, like what feels like in my body, like, yes, this is the next step. Not, well, my plan says this is what I should do, and if I want to get to this, grow that kind of business, like that's what it needs to be. It's like, just like, is that really the measuring stick? Like, is that success, or like what's most important? And I think that's just a values thing, isn't it? It's like, how I know you and me are like bang on the same page about like a cyclical and seasonal approach and an embodied approach.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can absolutely have like a plan in place, right? And still listen to your body and change your plan.
Yes.
Like, for example, you know, we could be ovulating right now and have the plan of, you know, be like full, like have so much energy, be doing all the things. And at the same time, like our body and like our energy is just like, you just need to slow down and rest.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's a really important point. Like for me, like that feminine way is like giving ourselves full permission to change our mind.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to like, what's that expression? Like nail our flags to the mast. Is that the one? Where you're like, this is what I'm doing. I've shown my colors. Like I've said it now. So I've got to do it. Otherwise I've failed. It's like, no, like we can change our mind. Like we've not failed. We've not got it wrong. We're not idiots or like, you know, frauds or imposters or, you know, whatever it is that we might try and trick ourselves into believing that we're not enough in some way. It's like, no, actually, I'm all good. Like that's what I thought I wanted. That was at the time, but now it's not true for me anymore. I'm going in a different direction. Just because I didn't launch that thing doesn't mean I chickened out and I'm, you know, failed or whatever. Or, you know, my mindset got the better of me. It's like, well, actually, my intuition and my energy and my capacity and all those things tells me that it's not the right time.
Oh, feel that deep in my core. I love that saying. I'm allowed to change my mind. It's something that I live by. So I'm just allowed to change my mind. It's okay.
Like I feel like that was something that was really, I don't recall ever being told as a kid, like I was not allowed to change my mind, but it feels like one of those things that we just take on board as like, you can't change your mind. Like you got to make your mind up and stick with it.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. It's definitely not something that I heard growing up. Never.
Yeah.
No, it's just, you make your mind up. This is what you're going to do. You're going to fucking see it through to the end. And that's that.
Yeah.
If you don't, then you're not good enough.
Yeah. You know, you're just being a pain.
Stop wasting money.
Yeah. Stop wasting my time.
Yep. Oh, yeah. All of the stories.
All of it. Yeah. Woo. All right. Let's pause that there because I want to tune into what you just said there about like we could be ovulating and I want to do a cycle check-in. I just said to Kylie before we press record, I would start with a cycle check-in and then we've just been on this awesome little tangent. So I'm going to bring it full circle back and then we'll just go again and see where we go.
Yeah, amazing.
Would you like to share, if you have a cycle, where you are and how it feels for you today?
So I am on day 26 of my cycle. So I'm in my inner autumn. Today for me feels, how does it feel for me today? My body is definitely starting to lean into rest. I tend to have like the start of my inner autumn tends to be the ragey Kylie and the real short tempered, like just stop, leave me alone. Can't deal with you right now. But so today, having already landed in my inner autumn, I'm like feeling a lot more grounded. And yeah, my body's just like, okay, let's just slow down a little bit.
Love that. How long is your cycle normally? Like how long away is your bleed? Do you think?
It tends to be between 30 to 32 days. So I generally have a long in autumn. Yeah. Which isn't the most, well, actually, I don't want to say it's not the most fun, but the start of my inner autumn, yeah, it's not great for me.
Yeah. That's really interesting, isn't it? How it's like the first half of your inner autumn that like you don't experience as like being, easier, smooth sailing, or kind of like a lot of people I hear people talking about like sometimes I get it too, like it's like the first half of my inner autumn's like an Indian summer, like like the energy just kind of pulls over from summer to autumn, and then I get really shitty towards my period. And then but yeah, like sometimes I don't get that at all. But for you to know clearly that the first part, you're like, is that like your transition, or like after your transition, like your transition from summer to autumn? Is it that kind of
it's probably that transition. Yeah, I would say it's probably more the transition. Yeah,
right. Interesting. I could go down a whole spiral of like, what does that mean? but not right now. Love it. Thank you for sharing.
You're more than welcome.
I'm day 22, and I was just sharing with you before we recorded that I felt crap this weekend, a bit sick. Like I don't feel ill, but I just feel like I've just been absolutely exhausted, like completely worn out. And I've had naps both days out of necessity, although I did stay up pretty late watching Netflix one night because I'm kind of all or nothing with Netflix. It's like I don't let myself go anywhere near it because it's just going to ruin me. Yeah. Because I can't just watch one episode. I'm like, next.
What are you watching?
Well, at the minute I've been watching Outlander, but not the new season. Like I'm still catching up because I've only really just started watching it in the last few months, and I'm trying not to do that like full on binge fest where it's like you smash out 6 seasons in 2 months. Like I just can't. But yeah, I have been really tired. It's been a big fucking month. Like it's been big. And a lot of nighttime stuff as well. So like you were saying, I think you're bang on the money. Like my body's just called me to like, just stop. Yeah. And I don't think I've even ovulated. I think if it's going to happen, it's not happened yet. Yeah, my voice is a little bit, which was interesting because I was saying to you, I've got like a lot of speaking things happening this week, and you're like, what's that energetically telling you? Like, yeah, there's a lot happening, and yeah, it's exciting. It's sort of like my body kind of, what's it doing? It's almost trying to like, it's not sabotage me, but it's like, do you really want to do this? Are you ready for this? Like,
well, you've had a lot of stories come up around your voice, hey?
Yeah, a lot.
Like this podcast was huge for you, I remember you saying. And so like there's no surprise whatsoever that you told me that your throat and that you're coughing a lot. There's just so much coming up for you to clear.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah, because the things that are happening are like pulling me into, like, it's very expansive. It's like, it's like, I'm like, oh wow, like I'm ready for it, but it's like it's a step, for sure. So it definitely feels like that.
Yeah, it's funny that like I haven't even thought about this, but probably after my nan passed, Like I got a cough as well, and I haven't really gotten rid of it. And I didn't really, it was just something that I had, and I still have it. And I've only just kind of thought about it now after
like 3
mirroring
months.
this back to you.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Like, that's really interesting. Again, both of us just, being in this aligned journey of showing the fuck up.
Yeah. And, I love having you in your support on this journey because, like you say, we mirror all kinds of things to each other, but it's so nice to have, like, I really value our friendship and the way that we hold space for each other in that. And we're both so on the same page with so many things that it's like, am I the only one kind of who thinks like this and doing this? And it's like, no, but to have that safe place to land with you is epic. And yeah, we met last year doing mastermind together, and it was like we hit it off straight away. It was like, aha, like, you look through a crowd of people and somebody's like, she's your person.
Isn't it funny as well? Because we weren't even like in any groups together. Like I actually don't remember many calls.
We were on some calls, but not many. Like, yeah, not many at all. Yeah, no.
I just remember, it's the same as you. Like introduction videos, seeing you, hearing you speak, like feeling your energy. I was like, yep, I like her. I'm gonna stalk her until she wants to be my friend.
I just want to say, one of the things that really stood out to me about you, like, not only are you just a legend, but you always celebrate people so big. And I just really I think this is really important to mention because, in the spirit of, like seeing people, like really witnessing people, but in sisterhood as well. Like, I think it's so incredible to have a woman who's in a space where, like, we're all on similar but different paths, all, doing stuff. And, there's a lot of, potentially space for like comparisonitis or like feeling like you're not good enough. Do I belong here? Like, do I fit in? And you're just there, like, fucking celebrating, as the expression became, celebrating the shit out of everybody, like, so much, and like so authentically as well. And it meant such a lot to me. But to see you doing that was so like affirming and like warming and inspiring. But just like, I just felt this real, like, oh, she gets it. Like she's there, like not there. Like this, like, you were there for you, but you were there very much for others as well. And like, but really saw the value of celebrating. Like, why'd you do that? Tell us all.
Why do you do that?
Yeah. Like, why does it matter so much to you?
It's actually not something that I've done for my whole life. If it comes naturally to me most of the time now. I want to say most of the time, because like a lot of the time I still get a lot of that comparisonitis and a lot of that ego chatter and, they're better than you, da 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 da. But for the most part, I remember this quite clearly because I was working with Sammy Fleming at the time.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't feel supported. Like, I didn't feel as though the people around me were celebrating me or were seeing me or were just like really understood me. And because of that reason, I was then triggered by other people in my life when they did awesome things. And in particular, somebody really close to me, I'm not going to say names or anything, somebody really close to me just triggered the shit out of me a lot of the time. I remember having this conversation with Sammy, and she said, I'm going to give you a little task, and I know you're going to hate it, and I want you to lean into it anyway. And I'm like, oh, when your coach tells you that, and you're like, oh, here we go. And she said, every time you see somebody just showing up in the most epic ways, I want you to celebrate them 100 times more than what you would normally, or if you would at all. And that was really difficult for me. She said, it is going to be extremely difficult for you for a long time. I just want you to keep at it, just keep going. And so when I first started this practice, it was not authentic whatsoever. Like, I just want to say that, like, it was not authentic because it was very much like oh, I need to do this. Like, I really hate that you've had this success because I'm not having this success. Like, like, which is what a lot of us feel a lot of the time, right? And then we just don't talk about it. And I think as well, like, this comes from so many different past lives that we've experienced in the sisterhood wound and all of that. And it also comes from not feeling seen ourselves.
Well, we just got completely interrupted by my new fridge being delivered when my husband was meant to be there to intercept and wasn't, and has got a sweet bang on the door. So we've completely lost our train of thought. That's life, right? Life happens. It's not shiny and perfect. So I'm just going to drop you straight in the deep end to see if you can remember where we were at.
I just want to mention, and I told you this before, like, life happens. Like, I'm so here for it. It's just, and I absolutely love that you're normalizing this here. I freaking love it. So anyway, where was I? I feel like I was
Sammy Fleming and celebrating people, and like how she asked you to do that, and you were like this, like, triggered by it, and like this didn't feel genuine to you, which I love that you said, like, thank you for normalizing that and being so fucking honest, and like doing, wanting to, but it just not feeling like you weren't there yet, like it was a practice.
Absolutely. And it was like, it definitely was a practice, and for a long time actually, I feel like, I was, whether that looked like liking posts or reaching out to somebody saying, oh my gosh, like, I'm celebrating you so much for this, or however that looked, for a long time in my body, I was just like, can't see my face right now, but it's like a little troll. But the more I did it, the more comfortable I became with it. And now, like, it's just a thing. Like, I have so many people, like, I'm actually going on a podcast in a few weeks talking about that. Like, and actually talking about, like, celebrating people, because that's, just something that's just normal for me now. And it actually is normal. Like, when you say it feels authentic when I share that. Like, when I share celebrations with you about becoming International Coach of the Year, fucking still celebrating you, like you. That is completely authentic. And there is, I want to say also, and there are times when sometimes I really need to make myself, because I can witness myself being triggered in that, and pull myself out of it and be like, okay, just step back for a minute, Kylie, and what is true for you in this moment. So there's definitely still times where I feel that comparison, or where I feel like insignificant, or when I feel less than, but I still show up. And I think as well, in doing so, like in actually celebrating the shit out of others, I just love that saying so much. I also experience them celebrating me. And so by celebrating others, I've called that in for myself as well. And now I feel seen. Now I feel celebrated and witnessed in my magic. So it's just been like, put something out there that you want and you'll get it back.
I love that with all my heart on so many levels, because when I saw you doing that, would have been about a year ago. Like, I was in the process of, like, really trying to celebrate others as well, and encourage other people to celebrate themselves in, like, my communities and the groups I run and with clients and stuff. And people find it so fucking hard to celebrate themselves. You're like, to celebrate yourself, it's really important. Like, we have to celebrate, the journey, like all the little steps, and not just wait till we've reached, like, the pinnacle before we're like, finally I can celebrate myself. And it's like, no, we've got to normalize, like, the journey, the process, the insights, the twists and turns and all that stuff. And, I just think that we suck at it so hard. And the amount of times I'm like, people don't celebrate when you ask them to. And so, celebrating other people is a really beautiful way of, like, role modeling what you role modeling that practice, because what you're doing is you're going beyond that. Like, people find it hard to celebrate themselves, but when somebody celebrates you, you're like, oh, like, you see me. And at first it can feel a bit like, oh, like, uncomfortable, kind of cringy, like, modest and, you know, like, really, like, am I worthy of celebration? Like, somebody seeing what I'm doing, but it's like, oh, thank you. And the warmth that it gives you inside, it's like, you know, it's that being witnessed, being seen, being supported, especially by another woman. You know, like you talked about the sister wound, like, you know, we have all been brought up as children to compete, compare, like, take each other down. Like, you're only valuable and accepted if you're, you know, doing well, and if you look the part, and if you're, like, you know, getting the grades, and, you know, striving for perfection, and you know, and meeting that. And that's just so harmful in so many ways. And, you know, one of the things that we've been taught is the kind of, we tear each other down. You see it in the playground, like, all the time. And it's a real reclamation act to be like, I'm not doing that. Like, I see you, like, I can celebrate you. And that doesn't say anything about me or anyone else. Like, it's not if I'm celebrating you, I can't, that means something about me. It's not one or the other.
Yep.
But, you know, also the way that you were doing that, and I was watching you, and I'm like, oh my God, like, she's amazing. Like, it just stood out to me so hard in, it's just something, like, a real energy and a really beautiful thing that I just wanted more of in my life. You really called me to celebrate other people too, because I had that same feeling of like it was a bit triggery. I was a bit like, I was like, oh, like, look at these people doing, like, super well. Like, if I celebrate them, like, that's kind of almost pulling me to feel like what I want for myself, and making me feel like I don't have it and I'm not enough. And like, and actually what happened was, the more you celebrated people, the more I celebrated people, and the more I got that in return as well, and could receive it, like, bask in that. Like, when I, you know, I enjoyed giving it, and I also was able to receive it. And then it just brings everybody up.
Oh, absolutely. And it's it's actually really fun.
Yeah.
Like, I know we come from this really icky place sometimes of like, oh, you know, like you said, all of these stories come up of, if I celebrate this person, then I'm going to be seen as not good enough, and I'm going to see myself as not good enough. But when you really, really land in celebration for somebody else, it is so incredibly fun. Like, because you get to be in that joy with them.
Yeah, you get to share it and feel it too. Like, it feels amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's, like, when you said as well, you know, when somebody celebrates you, and, you know, you feel seen, you feel witnessed, and it's like, oh wow, like, thank you. That's also not that easy to do either, right? And I think that ties in so beautifully as well with I say so beautifully, but it ties in so deeply with that celebration in the sisterhood wound, because we don't allow ourselves to be celebrated. Like, so we don't allow ourselves to be seen for a long time. Like, if somebody celebrated me or gave me a compliment or anything like that, I felt the need to reciprocate and actually give them something back, instead of just being like landing in it and allowing myself to receive it. So I wasn't willing to receive the celebration, even though I wanted it.
Yeah, I relate to that so hard. Yeah, the thing I've always done is either go like, oh, like you said, like, oh yeah, you know, but like, compliment back to you, or justify away, or like dismiss the compliment, like, oh no, like, it's just whatever, and find a way of like batting it off. Like, we're terrible at receiving. It's such a practice to receive, and to give, you know, and to receive go hand in hand, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and the thing that comes up for me, like, then just like a little example of, you know, when I wash my hair, and somebody's like, oh my gosh, your hair looks so beautiful. I'm like, yeah, thanks. I washed it. And it's not like fully just being okay with, oh, well, my hair's really beautiful today. You know, it's like, because I did something about it. You know, it's just like fully land and, oh, thanks, instead of having to justify why.
We do that all the time, don't we? Oh, thanks. This is why. This is what happened. This is what I did.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's so interesting. But I think like that sisterhood one just, dates back. Like, well, there's so many things within this lifetime that I can pinpoint as to why I have that sisterhood wound, but also just like freaking in lifetimes, like so many lifetimes. It's wild. So many wounds there.
So I really want to dive into this topic. So you, it's so curious. It's such an interesting topic. So you are, a life coach. You do Reiki. You do all different kinds of healing and space holding for people. And one of the things you do is past life healing. And I'm like absolutely fascinated. And I'm having a session with you soon, and cannot wait for this. So excited for this. But we were talking as well, like how this kind of ties into the theme of cycles, it's like wild flow cycles and stuff, like the cycles of lives lived, and how that can stay with us. And I really I'm interested to hear your take on what you were just saying, expand on that for us more. Like, what are past lives? How can things like sister wounding stay with us and then imprint us on us enough to affect us in this lifetime?
Yeah, absolutely. So where do I want to start with this? So past lives, what are past lives? Well, we all have past lives. I believe that, we've had hundreds, and also that our soul is just a million different places at the same time. I don't think there's anything, no such thing as time. And so past lives, they affect us in so many different ways. Like the sisterhood wound, for example, so many witches, and I know we've talked about this before, so many witches have reincarnated during this time because of everything that's going on in the world. And at the same time, we've brought with us so many, for lack of a better word, issues with us because of the witch wound. We've literally been burnt at the stake. We've literally died having shared our gifts. And so with past lives, basically our higher self, our subconscious, remembers everything. Absolutely everything. Every life we've ever lived, every pain we've ever felt, every memory, every way we've died, every person in this lifetime and in previous lifetimes. And we bring that through into this life with us, even though consciously we don't know that. On a subconscious level, we do know that. And so having been burnt at the stake, or however we died as a witch, whether we were drowned or whatever, we've brought through with us this fear that we can't actually land deeply in our power. We can't share our voice. We can't share our medicine, because it literally killed us. It literally killed us in a lifetime. And alongside that, I think as well, our sisterhood wound comes from this as well, a part of it as well, because I think a lot of witches in that lifetime probably gave other witches up. And so we dobbed our sisters in. And so we hold so many memories and trust issues around this. Again, because our cells remember this. Our subconscious mind literally remembers everything. There's this one person in my life that she's close to me, and I just have this deep wound. And I know we've lived many lifetimes together. And I haven't actually done a past life healing with her, or actually, I haven't done a past life for myself around her, because I'm not ready. But I know there's something within me that's telling me that I can't trust her. And I know that it's from a past life, and I know it's not necessarily in this lifetime, but I've brought that trust issue through with me. And so it still resonates deeply to my core. And so with past life healing, we're actually able to go back into that lifetime and see what's happened, because that's always freaking interesting. So intriguing to know what's actually gone down in that lifetime, right? But the most important aspect of that is to actually release it and to just allow it to move on, so that we don't hold those trust issues, so we don't hold ourselves back from truly landing in our medicine. So it's just like there's so many different ways that it can support you. But I believe like a lot of people listening to this, I think, well, actually, majority of people listening to this, I believe, will have a witch wound. And alongside that, will hold a sisterhood wound. Because one, you're listening to wild flow. Like, if you're drawn to this, it's for a reason. And there's huge, like, there's just beautiful medicine within you. And there's probably a huge level of, I can't show up in that space for whatever reason, whatever story that is. You don't feel safe. You can't use your voice. Nobody listens to you, whatever that story is.
Oh, thank you. I feel that all so much. It feels so true for me. We've talked already about, like, you know, starting this podcast for one thing. It's like the whole journey for me has been like a massive one of like showing up and being seen. And it has been really terrifying when, you know, like, I'm safe, nobody's going to kill me right here. And yet it has sometimes felt so like in my body, like physiologically, like really unsafe for me to be seen and to speak up and to talk about things that, you know, is definitely not mainstream. You know, even sharing it with my family, it's kind of like, you know, I sort of feel it inside, like, you know, there's judgment and there's eye rolling and there's like, oh, you know, here she goes again kind of thing. And it's been a real, I've had to work really hard at feeling safe in myself to stand in that and to share what I'm here to do and what I believe to be true and what I believe to be helpful for other people, you know, like to be in service. And this, like, you know, it's like this deep feeling of like, well, where does that come from? Like, there's some elements that are definitely current life, like traumatic experiences of like, you know, it's safer not to be seen, but it feels so much deeper than that. And like, I'm really curious to explore, and I, you know, have tried to do a bit of work before on, you know, what is there that's like really like almost frozen me. Like, it's been this sense of like feeling trapped and like stuck, just like I can't do this, but yet it's like it's the healing that comes from that, and for a lot of it has been using my voice. And I think it's really fascinating that you know like you said, the connection between where women had to give each other up in order to survive, and that was the position that women were put in, you know, whether they were a witch or a healer or not, and often men too in a way, but you know, giving each other up, it's something that's like, it's in us, like children do it. They do it without being taught to do it. They just do it. You know, and when that stays with us, especially in this space of, like you say, healing or space holding, or, you know, talking about something that's not conventional wisdom, that's like ancient women's woo wisdom. Yeah, it really
it comes up.
It comes up.
Vengeance. Yeah, big time. And I think on the flip side of that as well, like, we could potentially have past lives where we were that person burning somebody and killing somebody. Like, yes, we could absolutely be a witch, and, you know, we could be the person actually doing the harm too. And so that, you know, that brings a whole nother level of healing as well.
Yeah, wow, I'm just feeling into that, like, oh, I hadn't thought of that one. Yeah. I mean, there's a potential that we could be anybody in any lifetime, and, you know, in sort of experiencing it from any angle, and there's so much trauma over the lifetimes that, you know, there's something there. So just tell us a little bit about what it's like if somebody comes to work with you to do some past life healing, because I'm excited, but, you know, tell everyone else as well.
So basically how I work is, so like I said, I've got, like, I'm a coach, I do Reiki as well. So I kind of blend all of my magic together to create just, you know, this space that supports you. But in particular with the past life, basically I connect with your higher self. And so I connect with my higher self as well. Like, I always have a connection with my higher self. But I connect with your higher self, and your higher self takes us to a life that is most beneficial for you to heal. And why I say that is because a lot of people will come into a session with me with an intention, right? And they'll be like, oh, like I might be struggling with this relationship, or I want to use my voice more, or whatever that looks like. They'll come in with an intention and be like, cool, great. I love that. I'm here for that. And what I also want to say is that your higher self, if they don't think that that is the most important place for you to start, then we won't be going there. Your higher self is always going to take you what is most needed to heal, what is going to be of your highest benefit. And so we could go on a completely different tangent than you think consciously you want to go on, which I love. And it's always so interesting when that happens. So we connect with your higher self, and we literally, it's funny because I tap into that energy fairly quickly, and I'll be taken to this past life. You can see me like going there, eh?
Oh, yeah.
watching your face. I'm like, so I tap into this energy quite quickly, and like I get images to begin with generally of basically this character. Like it's kind of like a movie scene that we play out, and I'll actually share with you. So like if we're in a session right now, like I would share with you every single thing that I saw, everything that I felt or heard or anything like that, any messages that were dropping in. So I'll take you through the whole process. And I know we've kind of talked about regression here as well, like past life regression. And so the difference here between the healing and a regression is that I would be walking you through a meditation for you to receive this yourself, which you've already had before, I know. And I think what I love about healing is that a lot of the times when we're doing this ourselves, we think we're making shit up, or we think we can't do it. Like it's so much easier for other people. Actually, no, I'm going to rephrase it. It's so much easier for us to share about other people than it is to land in our own truth sometimes. And so whilst I love regression as well, that's just the little difference between the two. So I'm actually sharing what I see, and you get to witness it from my perspective, even though at the same time, a lot of the time you will emotionally feel it as well, because it's still your lifetime. And your soul, like your soul and your body and the cells, they still hold it. So a lot of the time when I'm sharing this story with you, when I say story, like this life with you, you will emotionally feel it because you're just remembering it.
I was going to say, it's like a remembering, isn't it? Like yeah. That was true for me. So I had a past life regression last year, and it was mind-blowing. But one thing I really struggled with in the process was, even though I'm connected to intuition and my senses, I was like questioning it a little bit, going like, like, is this it? Like, I thought it was going to be different. I thought it would be like this or that. And is that what I'm meant to see? Like, am I making this shit up? Just was like almost playing on my head in repeat, even though I was in a very, very deeply meditated state, like full trance mode. I found it really hard to let this tape in my head stop looping around. So I'm really curious. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm really excited for this session with you.
Because we find it so hard to detach from our ego. Even when we are in that state, we find it so hard to detach from our ego. And that's not to say, like, for me, like, and even my teacher and past life healers that I speak to, or, regressionists, at times it's like, I'm fucking making this shit up. Like, I'm just talking bollocks. Like, legit. Like, where has this come from? Like, so many past lives, I'm like, what am I seeing? Like, oh my gosh. Like, there was one that I did recently that I was just like, what is going on? Like, I literally feel like I am just talking out of my ass. And the person that I was doing it for, like, he was just like, holy shit, man. Like, I went deep then, and that resonated so deeply with me. I'm like, okay, cool. And it's just
wow.
Like, there's so much trust that goes into this in regards to trusting your own medicine, trusting your intuition. And I think as well with past lives, whether it's a regression or healing, Like, it's a matter of trusting your imagination. Like, I absolutely believe that your imagination is a direct line to your higher self.
Yeah. I think that's what I really have been playing with, was like, how much of this is just my imagination?
Yeah.
And is that okay? Like, is it okay for that? You know, what is imagination?
I was going to say, where does your imagination
What is
come from?
imagination? Exactly. Yeah. Like,
we just know it as imagination, but that's all we know. And we just kind of take it for what it is. Like, oh yeah, that's just make believe.
That's just stories off, children off with the fairies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
and is that just the societal story that we've been told, having grown up in this world?
Absolutely.
It just kind of like, you start diving into things like this and it's just, oh man, like mind blowing, like little bulbs of light just going off and like, oh, okay. Yeah. That resonates with me deeply.
Oh my gosh. I just feel to ask you, somebody's listening and they're really feeling like they're on the cusp, or like they're struggling with that sense of standing in their power and their magic and their medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, this whole conversation has been like, we could have gone so many ways with this conversation and it's just happened completely organically. And I feel like the overarching theme is really about standing in your truth, in your power, in what you stand for, and trusting your gifts and just your intuition, just trusting yourself, whatever that is, even if that's in a world that goes against the grain and it's not like, it doesn't see you and celebrate you. You know, that feels really true. So like, how have you learned to back yourself and trust yourself, like you say, like to trust and to stand rooted in who you are and what you are, like all things Kylie, in a world that's like, well, that's a load of bullshit and that's not how we do things around here and you're just talking shit out your ass.
It's like literally been a journey, and it still is a journey. Like, there's still times when I show up and I'll be like, oh my gosh, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, what are some things that have supported me? Just like, well, one, I want to say past life healing, because I actually believe that was pivotal for me in sharing my voice. I know we've held this very similar belief around sharing your voice. And for me, I did a past life healing around this, and it shifted so much for me, just in the way that, like, understanding the root cause of where this came from was, and actually releasing it was nearly instantaneous in regards to me then showing up and sharing at next level. It looked like surrounding myself with people like yourself, and having, like you said, like, it's great that, you know, we can celebrate ourselves, even though we find it incredibly hard to do so. But it's next level when we have a coach or a business bestie or just a friend, whatever that looks like, a partner, whoever that is, actually external from you, supporting the shit out of you and actually reflecting back to you your magic, because that supported me beyond my wildest dreams. And it was something that was missing for a long time in my life. And as soon as I did that, I just, like, my belief in myself, not that it wasn't straight away, but like over time, having somebody saying to me, you are fucking powerful, was just like, oh, okay, maybe this is actually true. Like, for a long time, like, when somebody told me I was powerful or you know, celebrated me in any way, I thought they were talking shit. Like, I actually thought that they were just saying that to make me feel better. Like, if somebody bought from me, if somebody wanted to, like, come to a circle or be coached by me, it was like, oh, they feel sorry for me. Like, all of these different stories, like, and like, I feel like this is resonating with you, just witnessing your face.
It really is. Yeah, I'm like, oh, fucking hell, God. I remember when I first started holding circles about 4 years ago, and I'd be like, and I'd say that for me was a real, like, practice in speaking, because I would go to circle and just be like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just sitting here, I'm just going with it. And then I would say something and be like, does that make sense to you? Like, is that helpful? Like, and they'd be like, yeah, like, that's amazing. And I'd be like, really? Oh, okay, kind of thing. It was like that, not feedback, but just kind of, well, yeah, I guess feedback. But, you know, when you, like, you have to put yourself out there. Like, if you don't put yourself out there, like, none of this happens. But yeah, having others sort of witness you, support you, like, you know, cheer you on. And having a coach, that for me was the first time I ever had a coach. I was like, wow,
it's wild.
What is this? This, like, you know,
because I don't think
no,
majority of people, I don't want to say everyone, because a lot of people probably do, but most people, probably especially in New Zealand and Australia, don't get that sort of like gratitude or feedback or like just like love and support
totally
in your life.
Yeah.
And then to all of a sudden have it, it's just like, wow, like,
I know, it's so powerful to just have someone who's there on your side, who's got your back, who really listens deeply, who calls you into your like highest self and like, you know, your potential, but who just reflects back to you all the things that you're already doing, like everything that's already within. Because when we try and do that for ourselves, like I was saying, like, it's impossible to celebrate ourselves. It's really difficult. But when somebody else does it, not only are we more likely to receive it if somebody else tells us, but it's kind of more powerful as well, because, you know, I think a lot of us, we do need external validation. Like we do, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's something that, you know, we should have, and we should be able to support each other in that way, instead of comparing, tearing each other down, like shrinking back into ourselves when somebody else does something good, in like oh, I don't feel enough now because they're shining so brightly.
Yeah,
there's room for us all.
There absolutely is room for us all. And just to touch on what you were saying before, like having that external feedback, but like just showing up, that's the other thing.
Yeah,
like for me, what got me here was showing up before I was ready, showing up courageously, showing up even though I knew I was going to be shit, and just doing it anyway. Like, oh my gosh, I've been so shit. Cool. Like if I wasn't shit, then I wouldn't be able to learn, I wouldn't be able to grow, I wouldn't be able to actually receive that feedback. Because even when you were shit, like you probably had people around you being like, oh my gosh, that was fucking amazing, you're incredible. It's just like we are our own worst critic. And it's just show up. Like that is what is going to land you deep in your trust, because every time you show up, you will just continue expanding and exploring what your magic is.
Couldn't agree with you more. Like, what's this idea about us needing to be perfect before we even like open the door?
Yeah.
Like nobody would get anywhere doing it that way. You know, I look back and I think about where I started off, and like just using the circles for an example, I started off like scripting my circles, like start to finish. I would take like hours to write a meditation, and I'd just be like, am I talking at my ass? Like, is this any good? And I would sit there and I would read from my script.
Yep.
You know, and now I'm at the point where I'm like, I think of a theme. I might make some notes if there's some things that I'm probably not going to remember, because there's so much that's been coming through me that I want to share. I never write a meditation. I just, you know, you could call it wing it, but channel it and just share what feels right in the moment, and just trusting that you only get to that point through putting yourself out there, feeling scared, feeling like you don't know what you're doing, but just practicing. You know, practice makes perfect, but we're not even trying for perfection.
That was 100% me. Like scripting everything, scripting every like meditation, like writing down every single song that I was going to play and where. Every single detail I was like writing down, and now it's just cool theme, kind of, again, I want to say riff, but again, it's just channeled. It's just trusting that you're going to show up in the way that you need to show up for the people that are there showing up for themselves.
100%. Yeah. Love it. Oh, thank you so much for sharing. I just love you. I think you're amazing. I'm so pleased that our paths crossed, and you know, you're such a support. You're like such a, you know, a soul sister for me. I just love you so much, and I'm so thankful for all that you are and all that you reflect back to me and make me kind of, you make me question things and make me realize things and just kind of come back to like trusting myself as well. Like I love that we can hold space for each other in that way too.
Yeah. I reflect that back to you as well, because you are all of those things for me as well. Just holding space for me, celebrating me, just witnessing, seeing me, and I just love you dearly. I love the work that you are doing. I love that you are using your voice in this way. I love that you've been recognized for like the epic work that you are doing through International Coach of the Year. Like it's
thank you.
You're just
all the feels.
Wildly delicious, and I adore you. So thank you for this beautiful conversation. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming and for all the things that we talked about, and thank you for celebrating me as well.
I'll continue celebrating you.
I know you will. Like you'll be with me, like I'm celebrating all year, you're celebrating all year.
I'll just like slide into your DMs one day and be like, whoa, remember that time?
Basically, message from today: go and find yourself your own Kylie. Like, go. We all need somebody in our corner who can do this kind of thing for each other. It's so important on this journey of backing ourselves, like believing in ourselves, but calling in the people around you who see you, love you, believe in you as well, and doing that together. Like we don't need to do this on our own.
Oh no, we don't. Like it. You can hold it all. You can hold it all. You don't have to, and you don't have to do it all alone. Like, surround yourself with just epic support.
Oh, thank you. All right, my love. Tell us where we can find you, because you have an epic podcast too. So
thank you.
Tell us your links. Where can we find you?
So podcast is Leading Lightworkers Run Unfiltered, which you're going to have like the absolute pleasure of hearing this conversation continue, because Charlotte's coming on very soon. I'm excited for that conversation.
Me too.
And generally I play over on the gram. So at Kylie Holmes _. I'm sure Charlotte will pop it in the show notes.
I will do.
But yeah, sneak into my DMs, come say hey.
Are you not Wilding Feminine Co?
No, I've shifted slightly. So my business has, I feel like it's gone through a death and rebirth. Yeah, so it's kind of, I'm moving slightly in a different direction, which feels epic and delicious and all of the things. So
I will definitely pop all of the links in the show notes. And if you want to go tune into Kylie on her podcast for amazing conversations and beautiful channeled teachings and guidance and just amazingness, go tune in. I'll pop the links in the show notes. But thank you so much. Love you.
I love you. Thank you. Mwah.
Mwah. Thank you so much for listening in. If you're loving this podcast and you'd love to help me spread the wisdom shared, please leave a review or rating, or share this with somebody who you think would love to listen in. I'm really passionate about creating ripples of change and getting this information to more women, girls, and people with a cycle so that they can reclaim their cyclic natures too. And if you'd love to dive in deeper with learning more about how to connect with your cycle and rites of passages, come and join our free Wild Flow Circle community, or choose a course and learn with me on my online learning hub. All the links are in the show notes. And until next time, be well and go with the flow of your cyclic nature.